What's up, Weirdo? Shade Tree Surgeon here with the dueling FXRs. We've got old 92 Krusty Glide Jr., old trusty from the right side of the tracks over there that Shay Lacey's going to be riding her very first time on an FXR. And of course, we've got Jungle Love, aka the Wet Spot. I think that works, man. The guy calls them Acid Flames, previous owner, because he said he wanted flames, but the painter was on acid, so that's what he got. As much as some people might want to change this paint job, this is such an 80s time capsule, I'd leave it. Well, you can put your feet comfortably on the ground. Your knees are actually bent on this. Dueling FXRs. First thing in the morning, me and Shaylee. This is pretty cool, man. 10 years difference, a decade apart. A Shovelhead FXR and a 92 Evo FXR. Probably 92, 93, the best FXRs ever got, besides the CVOs that came out in 99. That right next to the very first FXR ever built, 1982, first year, baby. All right, out here at old Cockroach Bay, Palmetto Beach, with our friend Silver Moon Photography, who very graciously agreed to shoot some pictures for free. One thing you should never ask is for a photographer to shoot pictures for free, but when you're running a charity, and she also runs a charity, so she gets it, she offered her services to come out and take some pictures of the dueling FXRs over there, old 92 and the Wet Spot. All right, so thank you. Go follow her on Instagram. Well, if you guys are new to this channel or new to this video or just haven't caught up, you might be wondering what's the deal with these two FXRs, a 1992 Evo with a built motor, Jungle Love over here, the 1980s customized Survivor, the Shovelhead FXR first year. What's happening is we're giving away both of these for charity. We're raffling them both off, and 100% of that's going to benefit Forgotten Angels. So more on that in a second. Might be interrupting my man's view over here, but you know, he gets to see the water every day. This is only every once in a while. There are ominous clouds on the horizon. The nothing is coming. I can see Mordor over the hills. But we got a bright blue Shovelhead FXR. And Shovelheads are sketchy enough. You ain't got to worry about any lightning or thunder. Come on, baby. Well, if we're gonna go to shoveling, I guess we better turn the gas on. Let's try that again. All right, commence to jiggling. So when it comes to Shovelheads, the Weevil might wobble, but she don't fall down. You can set them on fire, roll them down a hill, spit at them, huss them, and rebuild them. They'll keep on coming back for more. Shovel is, gave Harley quite the reputation back in the day, but they also have another reputation. That reputation is unkillable. No matter what happens, you can always get some life out of a shovel. Ask me how I know. I spent a couple hundred miles plugging a high-pressure oil leak in the head one on my finger on my cross-country trip. You gotta try awful hard to kill a shovel. What is dead may never die, baby. And some people might argue with you, but a rubber-mounted Shovelhead and an FXR frame, this really is peak shovel right here. This is absolutely as good as it ever got for a Shovelhead. And it's an 82. This was one of the very first Harley Davidson built Shovelheads to roll off the line after they bought them back from AMF. This ain't no bowling ball motor. This is all Harley Davidson. Now, just because you can't kill a shovel doesn't mean that it don't need to be maintained. That's part of why it's hard to kill them, is they respond well to a little bit of tender loving care. So even though this one's running just fine, and you know what? I'll say it right now. I'd ride it across the country, no freaking problem, in a heartbeat. Even though it's running fine, fully capable of a cross-country trip, it definitely still needs a little bit of love to make it perfect to whoever the new owner's gonna be, whoever wins that raffle. Cut back in time to my man Joe the Mechanical Jedi, the Mountain Jedi, from way back in the holler, giving this thing the once-over, and now up here at Ride Factory to order everything he told me I needed to order. All right, guys, here in the garage with my man, Joe the Mountain Jedi, Joe the Mechanical Jedi, who not only had his time off, while he's injured, has agreed to come over here and check out Jungle Love, the 1982 FXR with they call it Acid Flames.
Sounds like it's Smurf roadkill.
Yeah, dude, it looks like it had a Smurf at about 66 miles an hour. And I'll tell you, riding one across the country doesn't make you know a bunch about them, but makes you figure out what you don't know. So Joe's gonna do this thing from top to bottom, and we're gonna figure out exactly what we need so that when we hand this thing off to whoever ends up winning it, you're still gonna have to take care of it. It's a Shovelhead. It's gonna come with, a couple notes.
It's gonna be kind of like a needy girl girlfriend named Becky, but you know, as long as you feed them and take care of them and tell them they're pretty, yeah, everything's good.
2, don't feed it after midnight, dude. Under a waxing gibbous moon, always throw salt on the seat before you go to bed at night. There's a couple little mystical rules to shovel heads, but we'll get you all squared away.
See how easy I can twist that? I don't want to twist it too much because it's going to promote more leakage and everything. Yeah, well, if you look here where that tube goes into the tube nut, see that little bit of oil that's shining around in there?
Oh yeah, is that a common thing to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Shovel head and iron head both, they use the same setup, and that right there, oop, that's a no-no.
What's that?
See how that throttle cable's rubbing up against that oil?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a pretty good gouge war in that thing as it is. Shovels are an all roller bearing motor. I mean, people that put an oil pressure gauge on a shovel head, they worry themselves into an early grave because they see the thing bottom out at an idle and everything, and they look at it when they're going down the highway at 70 mile an hour, and they're like, holy shit, this thing's only making 14 pounds of oil pressure. And I mean, that's perfectly normal. If you look real close, you see how these tube nuts are totally bottomed out against the fitting where it screws into the head. It's like that here, 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 here. All 4 of those are bottomed out, and these are pretty low tech. These have a little rubber biscuit in them. It's basically like a piece of vacuum hose that's cut off about yay long, something like that. You slip it over the pipe underneath this, and whenever you tighten this up, it squeezes that little rubber biscuit in there to form a seal. Now, they're always going to move a little bit, but that's too much because that's spinning kind of sort of free. The tube nuts aren't rounded over. Usually people will grab a wrench and they'll just hoss on these things and they'll roll them over because these are chrome plated brass. The common spots on any shovel, I mean, you can see where it's been crying down here on the cam cover and everything. And then, you know, the push rod tube's weeping. You know, we'll pop a couple of those out and see if it's got quad rings in it or if it's got corks in it, but I'll bet it's got quad rings in it. Now it's weeping a little bit where the rocker shaft nuts come into the rocker boxes. We can reseal that and get that stopped up, but I want to clean that up and everything to make sure we don't have an actual leak from the rocker box gasket itself, because that appears to have papers in it. Harley's gasket technology back in the day, they cut the side out of a Wheaties box and said, okay, we're gonna make that.
I've seen some videos of those dudes out there in like Zimbabwe. They do all those repairs like in the middle of nowhere, cutting apart pieces of cardboard for gasket.
I ain't proud, I've done it. You gotta do what you gotta do to get back to the house, but we've invented great things since then, you know, like fire in the wheel. So, all joking aside, James or Cometic, either one of the two. I prefer the James gaskets because they're a steel shim gasket and they've got a molded silicone bead around them. They don't split whenever the motor heats up, cools down, and when it expands and contracts and everything.
The other thing I noticed is like, so those will rattle when you're moving down the road.
You're going to get a little bit of that no matter what you do.
Oh, so that's just the way they are?
If you dig deep enough in the old Harley parts catalog, there was an adhesive foam block that sticks on the front of the caliper before you bolt it on. Basically, it gets trapped between the back of the fork leg and the caliper.
And that's just keep it from rattling.
They don't have any kind of an anti-rattle spring or anything like that.
That's wild.
We're going to take a piece of sticky foam and put it right there.
So I guess we'll just put a piece of sticky foam in it,
That's commonplace on that because, you know, people, they've got the forks off, they got the brakes off, you know, the little foam block thing gets dried up and looks like a little piece of crusty beef jerky, and they knock it off there and they never put it back, and then they wonder why it rattles.
So yeah, it's got that first hesitation.
That little grunt?
Yeah.
That's a shovel head.
That's just it? All right. And don't worry, we're getting rid of the hypercharger. One of Joe's rules for coming over and saying he'd help me is the hypercharger's got to go. Blinkers that work. I never even tried them. That's something else. How many 1982 Harley Davidsons have blinkers even on them, let alone blinkers that work? We got no headlight?
No headlight. Fix it.
The Dynatech?
Yeah, this is low-tech old school Dyna. That's old school Dyna 2000. They still use a centrifugal advancer, breaker points and everything. These things are stone simple. You get 2 wires to hook up, that's it.
Cool. Well, if it ain't broke, we won't fix it.
Right. Part of the reason why, you know, they'll cough and stuff, I don't know what they've got in that carb in the way of jetting or anything, but when you stick a CV carb on a shovel, because the ports in the shovel head are so freaking big out of the box, what happens is whenever you blip the throttle on it, they need a little bit more pump shot, or They need a little bit more pilot jet to make up for it. Forks in a shovel head are so big, even with a stock cam, air velocity drops down to the point to where the fuel that's in the air,
right,
it falls out of suspension. So it goes momentarily lean for a split second. Because it's actually starting.
I'm going to do my best to remember that. I mean, it makes sense. But if you ask me to explain it again, I don't know if I could pass the test, Jeff.
You always got to watch out for is if you let the battery get real low. I know this is something you've talked about in the past and everything, but that solenoid will try to weld the contact together, and it will just crank and crank and crank and crank and crank and crank forever until something releases the mystical blue smoke. And that's what transcends from this plane of reality to the next. That's actually the top of the hydraulic unit, and that just drops down into the top of the tappet body itself where the roller rides on the cam. If I was to pull that push rod out of there, I could pull that hydraulic unit and smooth up out of the top of that tappet body. To do a solid lifter conversion, they made these little things called a toadstool, and what it was just a machined piece that had the push rod seat machined into the top of it, and it had a step in it that dropped down in the lifter body. It just replaced the hydraulic lifter, or the hydraulic unit in the lift, and it converted it to a solid. The only problem is whenever shovel heads get hot, it's not uncommon to see the distance from the head down to the case grow 30, 40, as much as 50 thousandths of an inch just from thermal expansion.
Holy crap.
They grow a lot. You'd set the valve lash and everything whenever they were cold, it'd start up, be nice and quiet. Take it out, running around for a while and everything, and it gets good and screaming hot, and clack, 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 clack. It sounds like an old John Deere tractor.
I had no idea an engine could expand that much. I guess just old school technology. They just built that bigger tolerances in them, huh?
Well, you got aluminum, cast iron, and aluminum with more aluminum on top of it. You don't have anything tying the head to the case because the cylinders are studded into the case, and then the cylinders and the head bolts bolt up into the head upside down from the bottom of the cylinder.
So that's why you get the experience. Everything's just bolted to each other, and it's not bolted all the way through like a newer bike.
Right. Evos grow as well, but nowhere near as much. I mean, you'll see an Evo grow, 10, 15 thousandths at the most, and same for Twinkies. Not so much on the newer Twinkies. The new Honda Davidson M8, I don't know about that because I really don't care and I haven't looked, but not a fan of the M8.
Yeah, don't get too salty in the comments, y'all.
Always good checking in with the boys at the Ride Factory. And let me tell you what, if you like talking to people in parking lots, this one's your bike right here. First off, there's a ton of people who never knew they even put a shovel head in an FXR frame. And then the other people are just excited to see it and know how rare it is. Like this, I'm telling you, man, if you like talking to folks, you want to make some new friends at every gas station you go to, this is the bike to have. And it's got a few oil leaks over here, so definitely not making any friends at the EPA, but just ordered a full top-end gasket kit for it. That way we'll be able to check wear inside the cylinders and a few other things to make sure whoever's actually getting this bike is getting a bike that's really, really ready to roll, even more than it is now. No visit to Ybor City is complete without a visit to see the boys at the Ride Factory, and come on, baby, you can't go to the Ride Factory and not go to the Dirty Shame afterwards. All right, well, the Dirty Shame is closed. And even though, I have a key for the back door, and me and Richard are both on pretty deep discount here, I think we'll go to Coppertail. There are two motorcycles that are about as far away from each other as you can get.
Driving a car has to be the most difficult thing in the world that humans do. Y'all suck at it.
From the wise master himself, Gandalf the Brown, Santa the Impaler. Words of wisdom. Well, let's get over to Coppertail because that nothing is still threatening on the distance over there, and it's definitely looking a bit bolder. There are two places that good King Richard appears with alarming frequency. The Dirty Shame, and of course, his corner of the bar that has his nameplate on it here at Coppertail Brewery. Most of the conversation that was had between Richard and myself could never actually make the video, and we've got time exactly for one more half of a beer, which is how we measure time. And Richard is now just finding out that I didn't bring any money at all.
Yeah, so not unusual, folks.
Yeah.
I'll do another half.
All right, guys, we are at a little bit of a stop with the FXRs right now. Not that either of them really need that much. They both run and ride. They're both ready to go right now, but we are going to do a little bit more to them. Got a very small oil leak on the rocker box gaskets of Old 92 Krusty Glide Jr., not Krusty Glide, Trusty Glide. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that up, and we're actually gonna go ahead and convert it to a Mikuni carb. And then on Jungle Love, the wet spot over there, we are going to also convert that carb too. It's got a CV carb on it right now, but Joe said those engines engines never came with a CV carb, and it's not exactly great for them. Somebody made it work, and it works okay. What they're really set up for is something like this. They're set up for a butterfly style carb like an S&S, which we so happen to have an S&S. So we're gonna slap an S&S on that thing. Joe's gonna rebuild this, and we're gonna tune it so that thing runs the way it should. With the CV carb on there, the shovel head was never designed for it. It's not supposed to have a carb like that. It works. It just doesn't work as good as it could. And I don't know if they just put that CV carb on there just to make the hypercharger work. I'm not really sure. But an S&S shorty, that really is like, that's a shovel head carb. That's what needs to go on that thing. So that leaves us with a few unfinished projects, some loose ends. And today, we're tying up loose ends. The dirtster that we need to finish up, that Shay Lisi needs to finish up, not me. So we're gonna get Shay Lisi on that. Fuel pump issue with the Honda Magna. And trust me, I wanna ride that V65. So we're gonna address that and get that sucker running again. And I gotta do something on the Power Pig over there. The KZ1000 needs a top box. Now that you can see it with the light so blown out, it needs a top box. And I got this guy right here, and I thought I was gonna put that on it. I just didn't like the way it looked. It looked kind of goofy and silly, and I like the way this bike looks. So we went ahead and got another Harbor Freight special for the back here because I feel like it looks a little bit more like the original cop box. It's low, it's flat, it's black. It just looks better on that thing. At this point, this will be the 4th Apache case from Harbor Freight that I've put on. I've had them on enough vehicles now, and I've been using them for long enough that I can go ahead and give this one like a full 2 thumbs up, man. These things are absolutely awesome, and how cheap they are compared to like Pelican cases is insane. I don't owe Harbor Freight anything. In fact, Harbor Freight really doesn't like me. After that video I put out where they wouldn't let me return just one socket, yeah, I haven't exactly been Harbor Freight's favorite. So apparently you can do that at other stores, but my store, they got mad about it. So anyway, I don't owe Harbor Freight anything, and they certainly don't like me, but I'll tell you, these Apache cases are freaking amazing. Luckily with the KZ1000, it's got this nice platform back here that actually moves around. It's on shocks. It's really, really beefy. I would say that the load carrying capacity of this, seen as how it's on shocks, it's rubber mounted, it's directly over the rear springs, is probably really, really high. Since it's directly on the rear fender, the load carrying capacity of this would be whatever a passenger's capacity is. So imagine this probably has like 150 pound rated capacity. So we're really not going to be stressing it with this thing. I'm just going to make a quick template here. It's already got holes pre-drilled in it like this. I say this now, but this should be like one of the absolute easiest things to put on ever. I say with such confidence, such eternal optimism about how easy this will be. As I don't stab myself in the freaking finger here. Let's just zip these holes in the bottom of this, and we should be able to bolt it right on. It should bolt directly to this. Easy jobs, even making myself a template. Who is he? I miss the old shade tree surgeon. Where's the adversity? The smallest amount of blue Loctite on these guys. As smooth as it is compared to an old Harley, it's still a pretty buzzy motorcycle, those big 1000cc 4-cylinders. I imagine that a KZ1000 motor is perfectly capable of rattling a few bolts loose here and there. Hey, look at that. A template actually works really well. Crazy. Let's see what the Magna running again. I seem to remember the fuel pump under here looking pretty new. So my guess would be the relay. Yeah, that fuel pump does look brand new. All right, what I'm gonna do here, taking the fuel pump relay off, and I'm gonna run a jumper, the fuel pump positive into the positive wire of the fuel pump relay hookup. And then I'm just gonna run another jumper wire from the fuel pump to a ground and see if the bike starts. Or sets on fire, one of the two. All right, without crossing any of the streams. Hey! Damn it. What? It's the relay. And now the fuel pump's working. Would you look at that? Okay, we have a running Honda Magna. We have the Power Pig with the top box. And shame on me because I totally forgot about the Milquetoast Pacific Coast when I was talking about loose ends and things we needed to wrap up. So next up, let's go ahead and get the PC800 back in action. If you want to see the return of the Milquetoast Pacific Coast, make sure you go check out the Shay Lisi channel. #1, baby.
Well, this Magna might be spewing gas everywhere. Shay Lisi's Honda might be suspect, but god damn it, we got 2 running Hondas, and I'll be damned if we ain't gonna go if we ain't gonna go on a ride on them right now. Yeah, that's good. Well, that means the fuel pump's working. If it stops leaking gas, then I know the fuel pump's not working and I'm gonna run out of gas.
The things have drip when it's cool.
Dude, this motorcycle has so much drip. Eat my gas. Come on, baby. We got the PC800 back in act. Ooh, be cool, be cool. It's the Fuzz. As part of the law-abiding citizens club over here, just having fun on our scoots with only front brakes. That one was a little late to run, Shay.
These aren't PM brakes.
We're just showing all those nice officers back there that were part of the law-abiding citizens club. We don't run stoplights. Oh, I don't see any leaks.
I think you're good.
No, that's bad.
Bad?
Yeah, that means it's gonna run out of gas. We forgot our membership cards and our decoder rings at home from our law-abiding citizens club Wheaties box, so good thing the boys in blue are far behind us. Now we can actually have some fun. Dude, this bike is rowdy, baby. It's also fuel efficient. Look, all that gas it doesn't need. It's just dripping right out. Oh, well, that's a brewery I meant to go to. That's where I meant to go. Uh-oh. This is not an issue, I promise.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna turn it off.
Hell yeah, dude. See? I knew it. Hey. Look at that. We made it. As we always say, you meet the worst people on a Honda. Thanks for the purse, bud.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. Anyway, so we're here on barely legal motorcycles that barely run. Most of which are Hondas. The Harley ran fine.
I'm legal.
Are you legal?
Yeah, my
It makes it so much less fun. This motorcycle is the ultimate fun. It breaks down, it's not legal, there's no title, it hauls ass and does wheelies, no rear brakes, front brakes, only one of them works. That is a recipe for a fun motorcycle. Well, which one would you choose? Trusty old 92 or Jungle Love over here? Personally, it'd be a pretty hard choice for me, but somebody for 25 bucks is gonna get to make the choice between these two bikes, and then another person's gonna win the other bike by default. I guess it's a small consolation that I don't have to make up my mind on which one of these bikes I'd pick, but I am pretty stoked that I get to have them in my possession for a little while. And both these FXRs are going to do something absolutely amazing. They're helping us change the world. You guys who are longtime watchers of the channel know that we raffle off bikes with 100% of it going to charity. A lot of raffles out there. I don't mind anybody making some money on raffles. You do your thing. But our raffles, the way we raffle off motorcycles, I don't keep a dime from this. I don't make a dime from this. 100% of this money goes to help Forgotten Angels and fund their fight to end the cycle of abuse in the foster care system. And when you click that link below, it's going to say it's a raffle for a house or $250,000, because that's what it is. If you buy a $25 raffle ticket for these FXRs to enter you in the dueling FXR raffle, we're pulling that raffle ticket. Actually, let me check the date here. Friday, July 7th, live on the Shade Tree Surgeon channel. We're pulling a ticket from the house raffle, and someone, well, two someones are winning these motorcycles back here. But every single ticket bought before then and after then also enters you to win a house. You get to be my neighbor if you would like. I don't know if that's a punishment or not. I don't know how much of a reward that is, but you could also just take the $250,000 cash prize. Prizes, motorcycles, FXRs, shovel heads, Evos, all that aside, all of this money is going to fund Forgotten Angels and do good things. We, together, on this channel, are changing the world. This raffle has never expanded outside the Shade Tree Surgeon and the Shade Lisi channels, and of course, all you guys out there with channels who share the raffle as well, and all the people you tell about, it's all been us. And when I say us, I don't mean me, I mean us. We're doing this. I know a lot of you guys out there understand how hard it is to not be able to rely on the family that was assigned to you, and you rely on the family you choose. Bikers understand that more than most. What can I say, man? We are bad people doing good things. I know in the comments people keep saying like, oh man, you're just gonna have to change it to good people doing good things. Trust me, all of us out there, you, I'm looking at you, all of us do enough bad stuff to need this kind of good karma in our lives. That link's down below, click it, and if you can't buy a ticket, please don't overextend yourself to buy a raffle ticket. You can always share this video or tell somebody about it. But if you can't afford a ticket, that link's down below. We'll be pulling those tickets for these FXRs, and you're still entered to win the house, but the FXRs will be pulled July 7th. And until next time, y'all, come here.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Armies of the night, evil taking flight. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Panic spreading far and wide. Can the world oppose the deadliest of foes? Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Who will risk it all to end the evil call of Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. They never give up, they never say die, walking tall with banners high. Shade Tree Army, a ruthless gang of scum, villains, freaks, and bikers determined to rule the world.